Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi barakatuh. Today, inshallah, we are in lesson number 10 in our Articulations and Characteristics program. And we start part 1 today, inshallah. And we start Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa bis-salah ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inshallah, in this lesson, we are going to see the letters that exit from the fourth exit of the tongue. And these letters are Sad, Sin, Z. Okay? And let us say what the scholar Al-Jazri said regarding those three letters. And he started by saying, I'll say it in Arabic first and then the translation in English. وَالصَّفِيرُ مُسْتَكٍ مِنْهُ وَمِنْ فَوْقِ الثَّنَايَا السُّفْلَى. Again, وَالصَّفِيرُ مُسْتَكٍ مِنْهُ وَمِنْ فَوْقِ الثَّنَايَا السُّفْلَى. This means he started by identifying those three letters by saying was-safir and the whistle letters, okay, the whistling letters, the letters that has this whistling characteristic. The three of them has this character, which is the whistle sound, and there's no other letter within all the letters that has this character. So he started to identify those three letters by their character, which is the whistling character. So he said the whistle letters. Like, for example, when we say huruful itbaq, the letters that has itbaq, they are four and they are known with this character that is itbaq. So here those three letters are known for their whistling sound. And he say mustakin minhu, from, they are pronounced the makhraj from the tip of the tongue and ra'sul lisan, the tip of the tongue. Ra'sul lisan is part of the tip of the tongue. And this part of the tongue is placed above the two lower incisors. Okay, we are used to use the above incisors, but in this case, in the case of these three letters, the makhraj is by placing the tip of the tongue, which is the head of the tongue, above the lower incisors. Let us see more of what we are saying now. As a revision, let us remind ourselves what are the letters that already we studied that exit from the tongue. The first two letters, I hope you remember them, are the qaf and the kaf, aqsa lisan, the rear tongue, the furthermost part of the tongue. And then we studied the jim, ya, sheen from the middle part of the tongue. And we moved to the edge of the tongue where we studied the letter dad and the letter lam. And then we took from the tip of the tongue, tarf al-lisan, the tip of the tongue, we studied the noon, the ra, and the three letters that exit from the same place, which is ta, dal, and ta. And today we are going to study the sad, sin, za, and they are pronounced from the head of the tongue. And the head of the tongue is part of the tip of the tongue. So this is the tip of the tongue, this area. And the head of the tongue is this part. It's part of the tip of the tongue. Okay? So let us see. Now the head of the tongue. How do we pronounce these letters? And how is the exit? How do we place the tongue against the lower incisors to produce or to pronounce those three letters. And it says here, the head of the tongue against the lower part of the inside surface of the lower incisors. Let's see this area. Where is it? Now these are here the lower incisors. This is the teeth, the front two teeth, but in the lower jaw. But we are saying the lower against the lower part of the inside surface. So if this is the upper part of the lower incisors, then this is the lower part. And this is where we place the head of the tongue here, okay? And of course, this jaw is a little bit open, just a little bit. A very, very tiny opening, okay? So by doing this, there will be a very narrow path where the sound comes from the inside, flowing outside, going through this very narrow path that is created by placing the tongue here. Those two teeth are very close to each other, just leaving a small opening, and this is why the whistling sound is occurred. This is how the whistling sound is occurred, okay? Because the sound runs through this very narrow path between the two teeth and created by the position of the tongue, okay? So we are emphasizing on the makhraj now. The head of the tongue, as I mentioned before, is a part of the tip of the tongue, okay? So and you will hear many names like رأس اللسان, منتهى طرف اللسان, مستدق اللسان. اللسان means the tongue. So رأس or muntaha, meaning the end, the very end, and ra's means just the point, you know, in the tip of the tongue. Mustadaq is also the very small point in the front part of the tongue. All these are names of the same thing, of the same area, the same place. And as I mentioned before, where is the inside surface? And where is the lower part of it? Now, this is the inside surface here. This is the teeth, and this is the inside surface. And where the tongue touches is the lower part of it. So the sound path starts from al-jawf towards the mouth outlet, passing above the lower here, passing above the lower incisors through the narrow path drawn by the tongue and the lower teeth, okay? And this is how the whistle is created. The whistling sound is created. And let us listen to the pronunciation of these letters, if it's the sad or the za or the sin. And of course, the very best whistle is the bird's whistle, right? Now let us try to pronounce those letters. It's a sukun sin here, a sukun za, so that this character is heard. Okay. Now let us start reading those words. Nasta'in. Again, this whistling sound. Nasta'in. Let's see this one. Taqim. Again. Al-mustaqim. Let us try the sad. As-sadiqin. You see? My tongue is, the tip of the tongue is placed above the lower part of the lower incisors, the surface of them, and creating this whistling sound. الصادقين. The Z, أزواجا. Again, أزواجا. Okay? Nice letters. They sound elegant, very nice. And again, how is the exit adjusted? I'm just trying to get my page again. Yes, how is the exit adjusted? Again, we are repeating. Place tongue head of the tongue above the lower incisors. It creates a narrow path for the sound to pass through, creating the whistling sound. So the whistle sound passes between both. This is important. It passes between and the lower incisors. So there is a role of the the upper incisors does. Okay. Now, what are the differences between the Sad, the Sin, and the Z in the pronunciation? Okay, in the Makhraj. Now, as we see here, the Sin and the Z, the throat is normal, okay? It's not narrowed. The furthermost part of the tongue is not rising upwards, and the middle part of the tongue is not lowered, okay? And the tip of the tongue is touching the lower part of the lower incisor surface. So this is how it looks like to pronounce the Sin and the Z. How about the Sad? The Sad is an elevated letter, okay? And it's also harf mutbaq. There is itbaq in it. So what is itbaq? It means that the whole tongue rises up towards the upper jaw, touching the above teeth from the inside part of it. So let us see how the mouth or the tongue looks like when we are pronouncing the letter Sad. Okay, we say al-sa. Okay, that's the difference between the Sad and the Sin, for example. So when we are pronouncing the letter Sad, the three elements, the three important points for an elevated letter, we can see them in the Sad. Remember when we talked about them? The narrowing of the throat. So we can see the throat narrowed here. It's different than when we pronounce the Sin and the Z. And then also there's an elevation of the rear tongue, the furthermost tongue, and the lowering of the middle tongue. Okay, and these are the three main points that all the elevated letters share. So this is the difference between the Sad and the Sin and the Z. So, is the exit opened or closed? For sure it's open because there is a sound flow. What are the common characters between them? We are going to talk about it just in the coming slide. And can they have a whistling character and also be huruf shadida? Meaning, can they have a whistling character? Sorry, this word in Arabic is wrong. It's not hams, it is safir. I'll correct it, inshallah. It's safir, meaning whistling. Can they have this whistling sound character and still the makhraj is closed? No. Because the al-huruf al-shadida, the exit is totally closed. Okay? Do the vocal cords vibrate in all three letters? Let's give it a try. Let's pronounce the letter Sod. Place your two fingers, your fingers on the throat and feel the vibration of the vocal cords. Let's pronounce the letter Sod. I don't feel any vibration. Let's pronounce the Sin. As, no vibration. Let's pronounce the letter Z. As. Did you try it? Did you try it? What did you feel? What's the difference between the Sod and the Sin, the Sod, Sin, and the Z? There is vibration in the vocal cords regarding the letter Z. What does this mean? This means that there is jahr in the letter Z, while there is hams, whisper, in the letter Sod and Sin, because al-jahr is what causes this vibration. Is any of the three letters magnified? Huruf mufakhama? We just mentioned the Sod is, but the Sin isn't and the Z isn't. And you know what? If we elevate the Sin, it's going to be a Sod. We say S, as. That's just the difference between them. What causes the whistling sound? We just mentioned that the cause of the whistling sound is this very narrow path that we allow the sound to pass through it, causing this whistling sound. Okay, now what's the difference between the following coupled letters? The Sod and the Sin, for example. The most important thing is that the Sod has itbaq and it's elevated, while the Sin is not. What about the Sod and the Z? We just mentioned that the letter Z has rakhawa, the vocal cords vibrate, while the Sod has hams. Okay, and what about the Sin and the Z? Same thing. Okay, so let us go to this last slide in this this section, and let us see those three letters against those characters. And we start from this star with the elevated letters. Which one of the three is elevated? The Sod is elevated. So the Sin and the Z have to be lowered. Okay, it's either this or that. What about the qalqala? The qalqala is related to al-huruf al-shadida, meaning that the makhraj closes. Okay, any of these three letters are huruf shadida? No, so there's no qalqala. So if we go to ashidda, the hardness, we know that these letters are not huruf shadida, then the opposite is rakhawa. They are soft because the sound runs. Is any of them in between letter? No. We know that the in between letters are lin, umar, and none of these are included in the in between letters. What else? Infitah. Is the makhraj opened? Meaning the tongue, actually, is it opened or is it closed with itbaq? Yes, just the Sod is closed with itbaq, meaning that while pronouncing the letter Sod, we rise the whole tongue to touch both teeth in the upper jaw against the upper teeth, and part, the tip of the tongue, as we just mentioned in the Makhraj, is touching the lower, the surface of the lower teeth, right? So the Sad has itbaq, but the Sin and the Za are open. They have infitah. Okay, and as we mentioned, all of them has whisper. No, when we try to pronounce the Sad, the Sin, the Za, we notice that the letter Za has, when we pronounce it, there's a vibration in the vocal cords. So this letter has Jahr, while the Sin and the Sad has Hams, because the letters either Hams or Jahr, cannot have both. Okay, so the Sin and the Sad, and we know that Huruf al-Hams, the letters of Hams, are فحثه شخص سكت. This is the sentence that the scholars put so that we remember those letters. فحثه شخص, there comes the Sad, and سكت and the Sin. Very good. The whistle, Safir, the three of them have this Safir. Istitala, we mentioned this with the Dad. It's the only letter that has this character. So I think we covered all the characters that we already talked about, okay? And inshallah, next time we are going to talk about the mistakes that occur when pronouncing the letters, knowing why they happen and how they can be corrected, inshallah, in part 2, inshallah, in our recordings. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next time, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.